we're going to hear from our friends at IBC and the Accelerator programme. So joining me on stage are Warner Brothers Discovery Contribution Project Engineer Jonathan Hale, BBC Sports Scotland's Lead Technical Operator Andrew Copp, and IBC Accelerator programme founder Mark Smith. But before we start, here's a peek at what the Accelerator programme is all about.
The Accelerator program is incredible.
It's an initiative by the industry for the industry, a framework for collaborative innovation
that brings together best-of-breed industry partners,
physically and virtually, to work on challenges from a business and technical perspective that are pushing the boundaries in the market.
I think the collaboration was the best part of this, because to actually get together and work on a problem together, that was new.
We really get to push the limits and work with very wide spectrum of collaborators, from big names to smaller names, and really share our knowledge with each other.
Customers, studios, media and entertainment companies, solutions providers, software companies, hardware, everyone together.
Exchange ideas, exchange new ways of doing things, and importantly, really putting it to the test.
When everyone's here together, stuff happens, there's energy and there's just these sort of meetings, sparks happen, and, you can't compare the real live event to anything else, really.
Brilliant. So that was an insight into what happened last year. The IBC Accelerator Media Innovation Programme has been going since 2019, and it's already brought together around 180 different organisations to solve real-world challenges, which is really exciting. This year, we're pleased to say that SVG Europe is the media partner for the sports-focused Accelerator projects, which is great. So we'll be charting the progress of those throughout the rest of the year to September, when we get to see them all at IBC in Amsterdam. And today, we're going to be talking about one of those, which is Connect and Produce Anywhere. So, Mark, could you, first of all, give us a kind of a general overview on the Accelerator programme and what it's all about?
Yeah, Heather, thank you. So, as you said, 180 organisations have been involved since 2019. We had just 3 projects in 2019, and then the pandemic hit. And I think that what that gave us was an opportunity. Everybody wanted to work together, and we had the perfect kind of environment for that because everyone was working from home anyway. So we could work with people virtually around the world. And that's where I think we grabbed a lot of attention, is that people saw there was a way to drive the industry forward without necessarily having to meet at IBC, which wasn't going to happen. So we had 2 years of the pandemic, and I think what really we saw was the idea of remote production and virtualized working for the industry really literally accelerate. So, it was a perfect environment. Now, what we do is we have a Kickstart event that happens in February. Champions, the buyers who come to IBC, come with their challenges and pitch those challenges, and then we start to form teams of like-minded co-champions who also want to solve those issues, but also with vendors that want to get involved and come and support it. And I think it's been game-changing, not just for IBC, but I think for the way you think about events. It's engagement throughout the year. It's not just 1 week at an event in Amsterdam in September. It's talking to your customers in a sort of interactive, constant sort of way to solve their headaches and their pain points.
And bringing them all together. And John, on the Connect and Produce Anywhere project, can you kind of tell me, how this started out and, what the cunning plan was for this one?
Yeah, sure, Heather. So it really started off the back of last year's IBC project, where we started trying to think, what can we do next year? It was such a big success. We deployed 5G private networks. We did UHD, HDR workflows in the cloud. So Mark did a great job just before Christmas of pulling all of us broadcasters together to have a big roundtable discussion to really think where we want to shine the light and what we want to do. And we discussed lots of things. There were lots of ideas, but towards the end, we all really unified around this idea of software-defined production. So we're seeing more and more that we just can't buy hardware anymore. Even if you want to, it's just not available, or there's huge lead times to get it now. So moving to software is really where we wanted to shine the light. And that's where we really came to this idea of software-defined production, which is Connect and Produce Anywhere project.
Cool. And who's behind it? Who are the champions of this one?
So we have Warner Brothers Discovery, of course, and BBC, who've been involved in the accelerators and been driving, what we've been doing from the beginning, actually, the BBC, so without them. But we've also got DAZN, BT Media and Broadcast, Sky Sports, importantly. We've got TV2 from Denmark, and potentially, I think there will be others as well coming on board. But it's a fantastic lineup of champions that all really wanted to come to this. The other piece, just to add to what John said there, is it's software-defined production, but we're particularly looking at bandwidth-constrained locations. So it's bandwidth-constrained locations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so a bit about what it is it's basically, we've all seen the power of cloud, and we can spin up workflows and tear them down and move things around and be really dynamic in how we're shaping our productions. And that works great if you can get all of your content into the cloud. And for some events, that means you need to put a very big link into the venue to get all of the cameras back up to the cloud. And it's the lower tier productions that sometimes don't have access to that, and they will have to then deploy a big truck to that production to make it work. So really what we want to do is we want to be in a world where we're moving software around dynamically. So we could move the Cloud Vision Mixer down to the event, and then that means we can produce everything locally, remotely still, and then we can send a single program feed out. So we're kind of utilizing the constraints of the bandwidth on site. So we don't suddenly need a gig. We can suddenly work within 20 megs, 30 megs, or 50 megs.
Okay. And then Andrew, what about the timeline for the project? So what's been the progress so far? What stages do you have to work through?
Yeah, so at the moment we're kind of still, it's on paper at the moment. We're hoping to start kind of putting it into practicality soon, and start actually putting pictures on screens, as it were. But we're kind of in the process of getting everyone together and discussing which software we need and where we're going to get it from, basically. So yeah, we're trying to source the hardware and put all the pieces of the puzzle together, basically.
Okay. And on the hardware side of things, is there anything specific or vendors you're specifically working with?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of looking to the IT industry first to kind of solve this challenge. And it's really, you've all got mobile phones, you can all download software to your mobile phones and license it very easily. So the IT industry really has solved some of the challenges that we're up against. So we are working with IT vendors first, and we're really trying to build the infrastructure first to make this work. So we're under no illusions that this is a really, really complex project to kind of realise the vision that we want to get to. So it's definitely going to be a multi-year project. I think we're all committed to really get behind this and to not rush it just to get something for the IBC, but also have something to show at the IBC, but then have a plan for the next year to go in and make this an evolution.
Take it forward. And Andrew, on what you're going to be showing at IBC, what can we expect to see from this project?
Well, yeah, as Mark says, yeah, we're hoping to get as far as we can. The end goal, I guess, is to do a fully remote production with as little bandwidth as possible. That's full comms, as many cameras as we can get, and try and make a full production with the project. But it's one of those things, as John said, I think it's going to be a multiple year thing. We're hoping to just get as far as we can this year, and then it'll grow. And I think the more people that see it, it'll grow exponentially, because people then want to get involved with technologies that are coming out.
Yes, yeah. And on the technology side, interoperability, cloud. I've heard many things about cloud and interoperability that make it sound not fun. So what are the challenges in interoperability for this particular accelerator, and how are you going to address those?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So where do we start? There's so many interoperability issues, but fundamentally I think all the interoperability challenges start because us humans don't talk to each other, or you will understand the standard slightly differently to how I will understand it, and then we will build things in two different ways. So we've seen a lot of challenges with 2110 and NMOS, and generally the interoperability challenges only get solved when you get together vendors and customers, and you get together to build a system in the real world and figure out how things should actually work. So the accelerators are a really perfect opportunity to do that, to get together where we haven't got a big mission critical project to deliver, but where we're all talking with vendors and customers, understanding the workflows importantly and how we need it to work. And then I think just off the back of us humans talking will become better interoperability off the back of that.
I think one of the keys to that is having a really good systems integrator. And I can't say who that is, but we have got potentially somebody coming on board that will be a brilliant part of it. But once they officially join, we'll kind of announce it. But that's going to be a key to solving some of that puzzle in terms of bringing things together to help with the interoperability bit.
And on the interoperability as well, I guess it's like helping influence different standards and protocols as they come out, like 5G, being able to shape those and push those along.
Yeah, I mean, really, we want this to roll on for multiple years. So we want to kind of pull people in as things come up to solve the challenges that are happening. So that could change throughout the course of the project. But right now, I mean, one key interoperability challenge is some people are Windows, some people are OS. So how do you build a compute stack that can kind of handle both of those? So it's basic interoperability, things like that. But I'm sure as we go, things are going to get much more complicated.
Okay, much more. It seems so simple right now on paper. And one thing that this project potentially could be really useful for is the issue of sustainability. In terms of OB production and remote production. What do you expect from that?
So we've had projects in the past that looked at sustainability in terms of just some very early looks at what we could do in the cloud, and we definitely saw some significant improvements over the traditional way of deploying kit and resources to productions. We worked with BAFTA, with Albert, their Sustainable Productions Initiative. And what we're hoping to do this year, at the moment, as we've said, we're just building the basic infrastructure and beginning to put the framework together of the project. And then we'll bring Albert potentially back in and give us some consultancy, provide some tools for measurement. We had them involved at Kickstart Day and they presented, so we're hoping they'll stay sort of as a consultant and advise us on really the difference that we're making, I think, as we move forward.
Brilliant.
I think that's one of the things with sustainability is that even with remote production, the processing power has to happen somewhere, whether it's in a truck on site powered by a generator or it's in a data center. It needs to happen. So I think that is going to be a key part of it, is trying to measure those processes and how much power that's using, and if it is actually more sustainable to do it this way or not.
Yeah. Data centers are notoriously expensive to fuel.
Yeah, exactly. And if we're trying to push, it depends how far we go. If you want to put 4K signals and things out, and however many audio feeds and things, that's pushing more data through data centers, which is obviously using a lot of power.
Yes, yeah. The whole edge computing thing is a huge problem. I covered a lot of Department of Culture, Media and Sport stuff around their 5G Accelerator projects, and it was the whole edge computing, cloud computing, data processing thing that is a bit of a stalling point for all these big ideas, but this is what you're kind of tackling in this project.
Yeah, and 5G as well. We don't really know these things, and many of these things we're aiming to learn about as we move forward with them as well. From that perspective, from the sustainability perspective, we don't know what we don't know yet. That's the thing.
Yeah, makes it much more fun, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then last question for you. So when the project ends, I know we're very early days, and it's going to get much more complicated. But what will be the practical, real, tangible results for people in sports broadcasting? What can we expect to really get from this?
So I think it's really opening up a new toolkit and being how to structure productions in a bit more of an efficient way based on what the constraints are for that one production. So all productions are not the same. All venues are not the same. So you can turn up and you could have a gig, you could turn up and have 10 megs. It really varies on how you do things. So I think having the ability to dynamically restructure a production based on that single production is going to be really powerful. And once we learn how to do things in a sustainable way, that's going to become even more powerful, because you can do it in a more cost-effective way, you can do it quicker, you can do it more sustainably. It just really gives us another toolkit to structure productions in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that it'll open doors, for at least for us in the BBC, it'll open doors for us to cover events that we wouldn't cover normally. Youth international events and things that we just wouldn't send someone to, or there isn't a world feed of. It might open doors for us to go and actually cover that content. So it's bringing more content for the audience at the end of the day. And if we can do that sustainably and cost effectively, then that's great.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
I think just look at what we've done with 5G, the private 5G network over the last few years, from a concept. And in fact, we did it over the public network in Amsterdam and learned a lot about that. But if you think about where it's come from since 2021 and development of a private network, this weekend, the private network that was developed through the accelerators is being deployed by the BBC on the Mall, in fact, all the way up the Mall to provide dedicated bandwidth to the BBC wirelessly. And that's kind of gone from a concept to a real-world deployment that will go live to the world and to every broadcaster.
And I will be following up for a story on that next week. Perfect. Okay, that is all we need. Please give my guys here a big round of applause. Thank you very much.